Hello and welcome back to the Harri Marcus Podcast, where this week we're doing something slightly different. We're going to run down the chart for this week in 1973, a chart that was dear to both of us. And whereas we can't play the records for copyright reasons, there will be a playlist of the whole top 30 in the link below. And I'll say it at the beginning this week and save me forgetting at the end. Please don't forget to like, subscribe and click on that bell button so we can keep on making these videos. Right, and starting at number 30 is Barry White with I'm Gonna Love You Just a Little Bit More Baby, which sadly only spent 6 weeks on the top 40 and only reached the highest position of number 23. And now Marcus is going to give us, hopefully, an interesting fact about the song.
Well, first thing, of course, it was his first hit in the UK as a solo artist. But I think they've been hits here was it might be Winter Outside and Walking in the Rain were both his compositions. Yeah. I'm not sure if they were certainly hits in the States prior to this one.
I'm sure Winter Outside was a hit here. I haven't got it in front of me, I'm sure it was.
It was a hit, but was it before or after? I didn't check it out. But it's a little bit of a story. This is his first hit. And before he recorded it, he had this little office in Los Angeles with his business partner, and he was writing songs. The two songs he'd done at the time were those two songs I mentioned, and he was writing a song for a solo singer. But by the time he finished it, and in fact he got so excited he wrote a whole album's worth of music. He was going to try to push himself to sing it. He thought they suited his voice.
Yeah.
Really well. So after a bit, he had to deal with 20th Century, and he recorded the album for it, and they hated it. I said the songs were all too long. But someone out there who was around at the same time, with someone called Elton John, picked up on it, and he loved it, and he brought the records back to England and pushed them here.
Right, yeah.
And he got the single releases over here in about a wait of 6 months. He had his first hits here, and of course that was the start of a sort of massive career with lots of long, slow songs, which he was famous for. So Elton John can be thanked or blamed, whatever your view is. I like Barry White. It's one of the singles I actually don't have by him, so I think I'll probably pick it up actually just to complete the run. Really ought to have his first hit.
Yeah, I've definitely. I mean, obviously, I think everyone seems to have You're My First, My Last, My Everything. That one brings back tons of memories, but I actually don't remember this one when it came out in 73. But I was, like you've often said in the past, I wasn't really into this sort of music at the time. But that was dear old Barry.
And he's on the Pie International label, as it is international. That used to feature a lot of their overseas signings.
And up from number 36 to number 29 that week was the wonderful and recently passed Linda Lewis with Rock-a-Doodle-Doo, which spent a total of 9 weeks on the top 40, reaching number 15. And it was on the RAF label. And I haven't got any information on that one, so I'm reading it on to you.
Yeah. This again was her first hit. She'd been around for quite a while, which we mentioned in our tribute show to her, which is still available. To listen to. But this is her actual first hit, and I think the thing was she had a bit of a cult following. She's well known, she's well liked, well respected, but she wasn't turning anything into hits. And Warner Brothers were starting to get itchy feet about the investment and getting nothing back for it. So I think she had not a definite ultimatum, but they were dropping hints that they'd like to see something happening. And as the story goes, I can't find it in writing. I think it was one of those interviews I listened to when we were researching the last show, and she said she went to bed and she had a dream about her mother, and sort of rock-a-doo wasn't exactly, but it's a sort of saying that her mother used to have, and she had it, and she came down, as all the stories go, she came down the next morning, got a guitar out and just wrote Rock-a-Doodle-Doo, and that went on to be her first hit. And it was great on the Draft label, which is mainly for family.
Yeah.
It's Warner Brothers who grabbed the Reprise label, who then had a sub label called Draft. So there is actually a copy of this on Reprise you can get, but that's quite rare. But it all worked out well with a fantastic single with lots of young guys. Now remember, from 1973.
Yeah, I thought it was a great single.
Top of the Pops.
Yeah, it's a great single, and she was just one of those singers that was always happy. She always had a big smile on her face and really bubbly. She was just a really good performer, and I think she will be missed. And now we're going up from 48 last week to 28 this week, a large jump of 20 for Dave Edmunds with his version of Born to Be With You, which spent 10 weeks on the top 40. And if I'm not wrong, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, is he on his own label, Rockfield?
Yeah, that's correct. This was his reworking of the 1956 Cordettes hit, which I think I own. I think I've got a 78 of that. It's the first cover version we've had so far. Yeah, because the other two were self-penned. I presume this is recorded in Wales in the Rockfield studio.
I'm just having a quick look, but all I can get...
Rockfield.
Rockfield, yeah. I think it's, is it in Monmouth in Wales, the Rockfield? Because it's where Queen recorded part of Bohemian Rhapsody. I think it's in Monmouth.
Yeah, it's one of those ones off the beaten track. But around this time, it's a lot about Dave Evans doing stuff with his own version of the Wall of Sounds.
Yeah,
I guess he played most of the instruments himself, and Baby I Love You, which came before this. His version of Baby I Love You was the same style.
I'm just looking down the actual song facts, on Wikipedia, and there seems to be quite a few cover versions. A couple of them that surprised me. One by Bing Crosby in 1956, and Sandy Posey covered it in 1978. So it's a well-covered song. Yeah.
Well, if you recall, you're obviously nearer 1956 for me.
Yeah.
I was going to say you're remembering 56, but looking back at sort of 56 and the years before, it was songs released and you got different versions of them. So Bing Crosby would have done a crooner's version of this, and the Cordettes did a sort of doo-woppy sort of version of it with lots of harmonies. I've not heard of Bing Crosby version, but I can tell you now it's going to be a totally different
Oh yeah,
different
without
version.
Without a doubt.
Didn't like it as much as Baby I Love You but it's still okay. Didn't buy it at the time. You obviously did.
No, I didn't. I don't think. In '73, money was short, so I would have only been buying things by like Slade and Barry and Sweet and stuff like that. But it did introduce me to the song because I'm sure I didn't know the Cadets version.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure if I own a version of that. How high did this one get? Did you give the chart facts?
Yeah, I did. It got to number 7. Sorry, it got to number 5. Got to number 5 and was in the charts in the top 40 for 10 weeks.
I certainly own a copy of it then. Yeah.
Cool. Right, so now we move up from number 41 to 27. The Jackson 5 with Hallelujah Day on Tamala Motown, and I will give the facts on this one. It was 7 weeks in the top 40, and it only reached number 20. I liked the song. I remember it coming out. I remember singing it on my paper round, but I didn't buy it. But you're going to now give us some facts or so about it.
Some, not a lot no, this one. I think I have is the writers. Really, it's written by Freddie Pepin and his wife Christine Farian.
All right,
something like that. They were the songwriters, and a load of credits. I think they did some songs for the Miracles as well. Christine cut some solo stuff. Freddie produced this song as well. I say loads of credits, but not a lot of stuff I know. Doesn't seem to be what's that?
I was going to say around this time, is my memory deceiving me, or were the Osmonds bigger than the Jackson 5? They seem to be getting like top 5, top 10 hits, quite a lot.
Yeah. I'd say they were. They certainly weren't having top 10 hits in '73. Were they? The last big one was '72. Looking through the windows.
Yeah.
I guess it was their last big one, but obviously no, because this is near the time they were going to leave Motown.
Yeah,
weren't it? And they moved to Epic.
Now that brings us to one that's only gone up 4 places from number 30 to number 26. Mr. Neil Sedaka, was Standing on the Inside, which spent a total of 6 weeks in the top 40, and this was its highest peak position, reached number 26, but was number 26 for 2 weeks. I know one fact about this only because it popped up on my phone today on This Day in Music, but you might already say that, so I'll let you say your facts first.
I'm waiting. Your one first.
Oh, my one was it popped up today that about John Lennon saying that Neil Sedaka phoned him and told him that I'm now talking a load of rubbish because I've just realised this is called Standing on the Inside, and I'm talking about the Immigrant Song. So please tell me your information.
I did listen to that actually today, the Immigrant Song, and thinking how times have changed to have a song welcoming immigrants to a country and saying how great it will be for them.
People normally only phoned him when they wanted something, and he was really touched that Sedaka had phoned him and offered him something. But I just suddenly realised when I was halfway through saying it was the wrong song. So I'm sorry about that, listeners. So now Marcus will give you facts on the right one. This is Standing
on the Inside was Sedaka composition. He actually wrote the whole song, wrote the lyrics as well, because he did a lot of work with Ellie Grenfell and other songwriters around this time. It's off the album The Trolla Days.
Oh, Trolla Days are over.
Are over, and that adds it had other tracks on that album were Love Will Keep Us Together.
All right,
and, our last song Together, which were both big hits recorded by other people. But this is really when he made a bit of a comeback. He'd stopped having hits in the UK in 1963, and then 9 years later, Oh Carol came back in the charts and was a hit, and that seemed to get people playing his records, listening to him again. And then he had Beautiful You was a hit later on. Then he had a hit with That's When the Music Takes Me, which is a bigger hit, and then this one. So it's all part of the comeback of. He had
when did he link up with Strawberry Studios and Derek Stewart and that lot?
I don't know. I think some of it was probably. See, we talking over these things. We spoke about Tina Turner the other day in a show that's still available on our site.
yeah. Keep plugging.
Yeah, but she started having hits over here. It was big here, and she came to Europe and pretty much stayed in Europe after that. I don't know, but I presume that's some of the same thing is that he started to do lots of work because he was always popping up on daytime TV. Back in the day, later on, he was always on sort of Pebble Mill, stuff like that.
Oh, that's a blast in the past, Pebble Mill. Yeah. Because I was thinking that I know that I was reading that the 10cc members sort of basically rented the studio and themselves out, and Stars used it. But then I was thinking by 73 they were having hits of their own, so I don't know if they'd be doing backing in other people's albums by that time or not. So maybe it was earlier with them. I don't know. I have to look that one.
Well, it might be. I don't know where the Trelaw days are over. Was that recorded there? 72. That was recorded.
I don't know, but I can tell you. Right, so I'll just have a quick look. Yeah, and according to Wikipedia, you're right. It was recorded at Strawberry Studios, Stockport, England, in collaboration with Graham Gouldman, Lol Cream, Kevin Goodley, and Eric Stewart.
Okay, that absolutely fits in with another timing with 10cc becoming bigger and the interest in Neil Sedaka over here in the UK. So, that's good. It's cool.
Right, so now we leave our Neil and we go to the start of 3, 4, 5, I think 5 or 6, 5 that are going down. The first one is
just before we leave a lot. Sorry about this, but just to let you know, Standing on the Inside was also covered by Vince Hill, who will be
right
of interest to people of a certain age. Means nothing to me. I was just telling it for you.
For me, yeah. Well, I am, as you know, a big Vince Hill collector. I've got 17 different versions of Edelweiss. Right, going down from 22 to 25 is a brilliant record, Frankenstein by the Edgar Winter Group. It only spent 6 weeks on the top 40 and only spent 1 week in the top 20, reaching number 18. And I don't have any facts on this, so I do, in fact, but I'll let you go.
Oh, right. You're going to trump me with a fact,
no, I've just got the Wikipedia page open on it, so anything you don't mention, I can sort of jump in with something they say on Wikipedia.
Well, this was produced by Derringer, and had the single had Ronnie Montrose playing guitar on it. Later on the old grey whistle test, it was Rick Derringer playing guitar on that performance. But the name Frankenstein for the song was suggested by the drummer, because the single was made up of loads of jam sessions around a theme. All went all over the place, and after many cuts and edits, they ended up with a single version, which hit #1 on Billboard. So
Yeah, I was just about to say, you've said everything you said on it about the cuts and about the drummer, everything I've gone from on eBay, and topped the Billboard 100 for 1 week, and was replaced by Paul McCartney's "My Love," sold over 1 million copies. So yeah, but I thought personally it was a great single. But again, I don't know if it's one of these ones that I've appreciated later in life or I liked at the time, but I know I really like it now. If it ever comes on a compilation album, I always like Yodel along, but it's
there was a Johnny Winter live album which was re-released, remastered, and had extra bonus tracks on it, issued recently, of his live performance at the Albert Hall in 1970.
all right, yeah.
And Edgar Winter was playing in his band Verisville, and he played an early version of Frankenstein there, and it's available now. I presume it's on Spotify, so that might be worth
looking up, yeah.
Listening out to it, because I presume it'll be very different.
Yeah,
if the later one was made through loads of edits, and it was just a loose jam all the time. So I presume he'll have a basic rhythm, but be quite different. So it'd be worth listening out. Perhaps you could add that to the
add that to the playlist. Yeah. I'll do the top 30 and add that as a bonus.
If you can find it,
I can find it. Yeah.
That is, yeah.
But next we go to another one that's gone down one place from 23 to 24. A chart veteran, Elvis Presley, but this wasn't one of his bigger songs. Polk Salad Annie didn't spend any time in the top 20 and only 6 weeks in the top 40. Highest position, number 23. What have you got about this one?
Polk Salad. That's a vegetable that Tony Joe White's mother used to pick from the fields.
All right.
Where they used to live. It was a staple for springtime, and he said his mum used to boil it up, and it was like greens, but it was really nice. So that was what the polk salad was. There was a time that everybody thought polk salad was marijuana.
Right.
They were bringing around bags of marijuana and calling it polk salad. But Elvis liked this. He was going to put it on his live album in Las Vegas, and for the shows he invited Tony Joe White to come out to be there, and they chatted together after the shows and played guitar and stuff, and I imagine he must have earned some good money out.
Yep, I assume this was a bigger hit than in the States than it was here. I haven't looked.
Well, I don't know if it was, but the LP was probably a much bigger hit, and you'd get a percentage off of the LP. So I guess given his other, how many other hits can you name by Tony Joe White?
I can't. I know the names. You told me Tony Joe White.
We've got Polk Salad Annie, which he had a hit with.
I couldn't tell you any other hits.
And he had one. I've got another one by him called Groupie, which is there's a live performance of him on the Playboy channel, singing it with Hugh Hefner sitting there.
right.
So and that's worth a look on YouTube. They're very bizarre and funny.
And talking of very bizarre, at least a single that I thought was bizarre when it came out, down from 14 last week to 23 this week, is Diodato, if I can pronounce it properly, also Sprach Zarathustra 2001, which spent 7 weeks in the top 40, peaking at number 7. And I believe it was from a classical piece of music or something?
Yeah, by Richard Strauss. This is all very strange about this. Richard Strauss. I mean, I might be totally wrong. I'm not an expert on classical work. Richard Strauss, I think about waltzes. And this isn't a waltz, is it? But I know there's a family of Strausses, so it's probably someone else. Perhaps one of the listeners will correct us. But he wrote this in 1896, and it was inspired by Friedrich Nietzsche, Nietzsche, the psychologist. His book, Thus Spoke Zarathustra.
Right.
So that's really useful information.
I've heard of him, though.
Yeah. He's one of the really famous psychologists, like Freud and all of those. But Diodato was Eumir Diodato de Almeida, was his full name, born in 1943. He's still with us. This is his only UK hit. I mean, his work, well, the music in 2001, A Space Odyssey, was the Richard Strauss track, and this is his twist on Novak with I quite like it. I always liked it, and I always remember it in the opening scenes of Being There with Peter Sellers, where he's walking through the streets of
we talked about Being There before.
New
Some
York.
bizarre reason, that's a film that I've never watched.
Yeah, it's probably dated now, but at the time it was amazing. But I've got an even more stellar piece of information.
I'm all in.
Diodato, you probably don't know.
Tell me.
Do you know? Do you know anything? No.
I don't know anything about Diodato.
Right. His daughter Kenya Diodato married Stephen Baldwin from the Baldwin clan. The actors.
Right. Right.
Alec Baldwin and.
All right. I was getting them all confused, the Baldwins.
Yeah. But the even more interesting fact is his granddaughter, Hilary Baldwin, is married to Justin Bieber.
Oh, right. So there is a link between Diodato and Justin Bieber.
Yeah. So there you go. There's some interesting facts I only found out about an hour ago.
I've just opened the page on it just to see if there's anything on there, and it's basically what you said. The only thing you haven't said is that it won the 16th annual Grammy Award for Best Pop Instrumental Performance. But apart from that, everything else on there is everything you said.
Okay, all
right. So now,
sorry, I don't tend to use Wikipedia as my.
Yeah, you know me. Wikipedia and Google are my best friends. Now, going down from 16 to 22 are the Detroit Spinners, not Emeralds, with Could It Be I'm Falling in Love. Spent 10 weeks on the top 40 and peaked at number 11 on the Atlantic record label. I'm sure you've got something about this one.
Not a lot, but this was their first UK hit. Had a couple of big hits in over States before this, but this was their first UK hit. It was written by the Steels twins, Mervyn and Melvin Steels, who presented the song to Tom Bell, who was the producer. Yeah. And he liked it, and he thought it'd be a good song for Spinners, because they're only the Detroit Spinners here in America. They're the Spinners, because of the confusion with our top band, the Spinners here.
Yeah.
That's true. But
I know it's trying to smile because when you said about our top band, yeah. Sorry. Not that I'm knocking the spinners.
No,
they
always
have
a place for all sorts of music, and I think that's what this chart flags up.
Yeah.
There's a place for all sorts here, which we like. It's a great song. Good usual taste by Tom Bell for spotting a good song.
And the next run is the first run of the charts that I really, really remember coming out. It is down from number 8 last week to number 21 this week, and it's The Sweets with the brilliant Hellraiser. Spent, surprisingly, only 9 weeks on the top 40, but got to number 2. I loved this when it came out. I remember it clearly coming out. I was heavily into glam and embarrassingly was a Boy Scout. And I remember being at Scout camp and hearing this and falling off. I actually fell off the top bunk of a bunk bed because I jumped up because I was trying to sort of boogie along to it. But you're going to give us a lot more interesting facts than that.
Well, a couple of interesting facts about me. In fact, you talked about the Boy Scouts. I was actually with Boy Scouts for a while. Oh dear.
Yeah.
And I was down the local park, my mates and some girls. We met some girls down there. And they were on to me, they knew, and then they point at me and say, "Oh, we know you. We've seen you in your Scout uniform, going to Scouts." And that's the last time I just left the Scouts straight away.
Right,
after that, didn't go again. But going back to, I love this. It's still probably my favourite Sweet single. And I remember Tuesdays, I always took my radio to school.
Did so?
And I'd be just walking around the playground because that's exactly when the chart was on. They knew that, didn't they? That's why they timed the chart for that time, so kids could listen to it at that time. And I remember being down by the school gate and this one coming on and listening to it. And just loving it. Around another time when Come On Feel the Noise came straight in at number 1, I almost fainted. I never knew that a record had come straight in at number 1 because only just into music, and that blew me away. But this one, I still remember being in another lower playground by the gate with the radio up to my ear and listening to this. You used to like the B-side, didn't you? Didn't it influence some other band?
Oh, some small band, Queen, but they tried to copy the Sweet, but they didn't get anywhere. I used to walk home for lunch because it was cheaper. And I used to have the radio, like you, stuck to my ear, listening to it. And I remember listening to this one coming on, but it's a totally unrelated song. When I was working at Needs, where we both worked, my first stint in 77 or 78, whenever God Save the Queen came out, 77 must have been, yeah. And it came on that it had come in at number 2. And I was, I don't know if you remember the shop, but at the back they had all those nails banged in the wall that they used to hang the belts on. And I was standing on a stool hanging the belts on the nails. And because the Pistols had come in at number 2 and no one else in the shop like Punk, they were all slagging it off. I jumped for joy and fell off the stool and slashed all my arm on the But it's amazing what effect music can have on you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I could have had a whole career in scouting like you.
Yeah, I'll be honest.
Venture Scouts, mate. Venture Scouts.
I went to Venture Scouts for a couple of about 6 months, I guess, before I got bored of it. Only reason I went to Venture.
That's you, really. When you get involved in something, you really get involved in it. I'm the wild one. I just, lose interest and go off.
Well, I had sort of arteriomosis as well because I went to Scouts because the Scout Master was my godfather, and because I didn't have to pay to go on Scout camps, he used to get me go for free. So I used to get a free holiday every year, even though it was a Scout camp. And I went to Venture Scouts because the bloke who ran Venture Scouts is the bloke who got me my first job at King Print. And he used to be like the cool Scout leader who was down with the kids, and he used to let us all smoke. So I used to go to Venture Scouts because I used to go out and we used to go down the, what do you call it? that pub down the Sandringham Road.
Used to let you go down the pub too, yeah?
Yeah, but we went down the pub and I used to have my half of lager and lime and my number 6 and think it was really great because I could smoke and drink and my mother wouldn't know. But the novelty wore off after a while, especially when I realised I was sort of 16 coming on 17 and I was still a fucking scout. So I gave that one the elbow. And now we're into the top 20 and up one place from 20 to 20. Up one place from 21 to 20 is Sweet Illusion by Junior Campbell. And the stats for that one are, he says optimistically, here we go, yeah. It peaked at number 15 and it spent a total of 8 weeks in the top 40. And obviously, my only stat on that at the moment is Junior was a member of Marmalade, but you're going to give us a lot more than that, I'm sure.
Yeah, this was his follow-up to his bigger hit, Hallelujah, Freedom, from the end of 72, and it's on the D Gram label, which is a sub-label of Decca. The track was recorded at the Decca Studios in London, and Rick West from the Tremolos played bass on this.
All right.
And he didn't seem to appear to do an awful lot after this. But interesting about it is that he did his own arrangement of the strings and stuff, because they always, back in those days, they always used to bring in an arranger to do stuff. I mean, famously, Elton John with Paul Buckmaster, who used to do all the strings on his early stuff. But Junior Campbell used to do his own, and his pop career didn't really do much after this, but he moved more into scores and doing stuff like that. And his big claim to fame was doing all of the music and quite a few songs for the TV series Thomas and Friends.
All right.
It's a Thomas the Tank Engine.
Thomas the Tank Engine, yeah.
Was it? And he wrote 15 songs for it and did all of the incidental music for 182 episodes.
I'll be honest, I'm thinking while you're talking, I can remember seeing pictures of Junior with white hair. I don't know where I saw them, but I can't actually ever remember hearing anything he's done for about 40 years, so I probably have heard. Well, I don't think I ever watched any Thomas the Tank Engine, so I probably haven't heard any of his music since the 70s, but it's interesting that he went in that direction.
He obviously did have other stuff for other shows and for films and stuff, but that's where he sort of moved into. And obviously, TV series for 182 episodes is quite substantial. I imagine there's a few young children from that period who are now grown up would probably know his songs from that better than some people remember Hallelujah, Freedom, or particularly Sweet Illusion.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you said to me Junior Campbell, I immediately think Hallelujah, Freedom. I wouldn't think Sweet Illusion. But I used to like him and the stuff he did. Was he still with them, the Marmalade, when they did Reflections?
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah. Now we moved up to 19, down from 15 is another Detroit group, Detroit Emeralds. You won it, you got it. Peaked at number 12 and spent 7 weeks in the top 40. And according to my note, according to Chart Show, the official chart website, it's on the Westbound label, if that's correct.
Yeah, that's their United States label, who I imagine had a deal here with EMI or something for putting out their records. Managed to get a couple of their sleeves for my collection, so quite good. So you came up with some info. Oh, you got the chart info on this, or did you say it?
I said it. Yeah, hang on. Let me go back to it again. All right, be a second. I just came off the page. It spent 7 weeks on the top 40, 9 weeks on the top 75, and it reached number 12.
Oh, cool. Okay. That's the name of their LP. It came from.
Yeah.
I think, and as you helpfully said, the band from Detroit, the Detroit Emeralds, actually came from Arkansas.
Oh, right. So, right. So we have two Detroit bands in, but one of them didn't come from Detroit.
They did move to Detroit later on, and this song was written by one of their members, Abram Tillman.
All right. Yeah.
He wrote it. They had one of two twins. They had quite a few lineup changes over another years, but obviously, like the previous artist, Junior Campbell, this was after their great single "Feel the Need" over here. I'm not sure if it's the same way round in the States. This might have come out before "Feel the Need" in the States, but don't quote me on it. But I'm sure listeners in the know will come back and correct us.
So now we're going up a place from number 19 to number 18 to a record that brings back a lot of memories from me, simply because my mother loved it, and it's Welcome Home by Peters and Lee. It spent 21 weeks on the top 40, a huge, I think one of our longest so far, and it reached number 1. Lenny and Diane, wasn't it? Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
And didn't Diane marry Rick Price from Wizard?
Did she? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm 99% sure she married Rick Price from Wizard after the Peters and Lee career were over. But I'll leave you with some stats on them.
Yeah, as per normal, I can't read my scribbled notes, but they'd been round. Well, he'd been round for a number of years, and they got together later in the 60s, and it was Lenny Peters and something, but his management company suggested it might be a better name to call themselves Peters and Lee. So that's where the name came from, and they got their big break when they got onto Opportunity Knox.
Oh yeah,
and they're really successful on No That, weren't they?
Yeah.
And they got from that. They got their contract with Philips and hit albums and hit singles, but this was their only number one. He was the uncle of Charlie Watts.
Yeah, I remember you saying, yeah.
Lenny Peters. I don't know how that works on age, but as you know, there are weird things sometimes when you're the youngest son in a big family and the oldest son in another family. The ages can be quite similar. Yeah, I was saying it's quite tragic how he lost his sight. He lost his sight in one eye in a car crash when he was about 5, and later on he got hit in the face with a brick. Lost the sight in his other eye. Later, he was totally blind from that. There are always rumours going around that he wasn't really blind and stuff like that at another time.
Am I right in remembering that you once actually worked with him at Richmond Theatre? No.
I heard the story about one of the people was working with him, and he was on the stage with no one with him, and someone started playing the piano. He started walking towards it, and before he walked off the edge of the stage, someone who grabbed him.
Oh, right, yeah.
It was a story, but the only other bit I have is that the song "Welcome Home" was translated from a French song.
Oh, right. I mean, it's a song that I would never.
It's out there.
It's one of those songs like Joni Monroe that I would never actually like in any shape or form, apart from the fact that my mother loved it, so it was being played all the time.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So
So you actually liked it after that.
Yeah, it brings back so many memories that if I hear it now, it's just a nice song for me to hear now. Right, so now we're going with one that's coming down from number 12 to number 17, a great record, Breaking Down Angel by Nazareth. It spent 9 weeks on the top 40 and got to number 9, and was on the Mooncrest label, which I'm sure you'll tell us something about that label.
Not a lot about Mooncrest, apart from I think it was linked to B&C, which was going bankrupt around this time. I don't think it made it much through 73, 74.
I was going to say, according to the chart page, its catalogue number was Moon 1, so this must have been their first single.
Yeah. Well, I think it did continue, but there's a change in, I think B&C had problems. But I was reading about it, but as Pinal didn't read it properly. But this is from their third album called Razamanaz. I guess you remember at the time. You ever owned a copy?
Indeed. I did own a copy at some point. I haven't got it anymore, but I did own it at some point.
Yeah. And it was produced by Roger Glover.
Oh, right.
Because they did support Deep Purple early on, and that's where they got together, and he produced his album for them. Great band, and just remember seeing him on top of the pops. He couldn't really miss Dan McCafferty.
No.
He died recently, didn't he?
I think he did. He left Nazareth because of health reasons about 3 years ago, and I remember the band posting on Facebook that it was like a sad day because they'd been together with the same lineup for over 40 years, but he just couldn't go on anymore, and I can't remember what he died of.
That's Manny Charlton.
Yeah.
Darren Sleep. Play drums.
I would have to look that up, but I will take your word for that. I know Manny Charlton was with him, yeah.
I saw their names yesterday. I know Manny Charlton, but I seem to know the drummer's name for some reason. I think something like Darren Sleep, but great band.
Yeah.
What's your view on this flight tonight? Is it your usual disgust that someone doing a cover version of a song?
Well, not really, because it was many years, well, not many years, but quite a while, probably a few months or a year before I knew that This Flight Tonight was a cover version. I thought it was a Nazareth song, and then when I found out it was a Joni Mitchell song, wasn't it? Yeah. I just preferred Nazareth's one because it was the one that I knew.
It's a difference now, isn't it? Because of the internet and stuff. If you knew there was another version, if it wasn't played on the radio, you physically had to go out and buy the record or find someone who owns a copy to listen to it. Now you just go on second-hand songs or something, and they're all on. Or, you go on to one song and you see about 15 other versions of the song.
Sorry about that. We had a power cut and we've been offline for the last hour, but now back with number 16, up from number 18, and its first choice with Armed and Extremely Dangerous, which again is a single I really liked when it came out, being a bit of a pop head. And it spent 8 weeks on the top 40 and it reached number 16, so this was its highest position. What can you tell us about this one?
Well, I came from Philadelphia, and it's a Starr and Harris production. I haven't been able to find much out about Starr and Harris, but I know they did some other bands. The lead singer of the three was Rochelle Fleming, and there's a good clip of them on YouTube from Soul Train doing this. Did I make it over to Top of the Pops? Do you remember seeing them?
I don't remember seeing them on Top of the Pops. I will have to think about that one. I suppose I could look it up, but I don't remember seeing them on Top of the Pops, no.
Well, I put in a search for them. The first one which came up was Soul Train. It tends to be Top of the Pops, then it comes up.
Yeah.
First on those sort of things. But anyway, that's a good.
There's absolutely nothing about them on Wikipedia. I put in Armed and Extremely Dangerous song on Wikipedia, and it's got one paragraph. It says it's a song by First Choice and is arguably their best known song. Became a top 20 hit in the United Kingdom, and that's it. But what is interesting, they put track listing and they put the 7-inch single A-side and B-side, and then underneath it they put maxi single, which has got 7 different mixes of Armed and Extremely Dangerous. I'm assuming that must have come out later. I can't imagine that would have come out in 73.
Yeah, right. Guess so. I was reading no interview with them from Record Mirror. On this date in 1973 by Tony Jasper.
I know the name.
He's a journalist, and he wrote lots of those books. He's writing music books and do articles later on. I'm not sure if he stayed with Record Mirror, if he moved somewhere else, but he was a key writer with Record Mirror at the time and speaking to chart bands, so it was his job to have an interview with First Choice, and it wasn't the best interview he ever did by phone.
Right.
Him in London to New York. And it's in those days when you had to go through the operator to get to it, and they kept getting interrupted by the operator and saying who's paying for this, and and it eventually got cut off, and all they really managed to speak about was what's the weather like in New York today.
Right.
So didn't really get much, but it's either or somewhere else where they said they really like doing this single because it's really fiery. So I'd hate to think what their idea of laid back was.
Yeah. So Peters and Lee.
Good single though. It wasn't. Well, I suppose I probably liked this sort of music more than you at the time, but I didn't. All the sound effects and starts and the talk over at the start of it. But he's right. And if I recall that,
I've always had this thing about
irritating and stuff.
I like this, and I like Smarty Pants, and I sort of seem to look. I don't know why, but I seem to quite like 70s like girl groups. I can't remember. Was the Pearls in the 70s? Yeah. Those I seem to sort of, for some reason, like singles by 70s girl groups, but maybe that's just something about my teenage hormones. But now
I was just never a fan of this particular one. I do own it, of course.
Of course. I mean, I'm sure that you own every record on this top 20, don't
you? I own all another one we've had so far.